Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm John, and this is the KAA Kajukenbo Deep Dive. So, welcome back. My guest today is Grandmaster Brian Yoshii. Thank you for joining us, Grandmaster.
Right. Thank you for having me.
It's really much a pleasure today. Grandmaster Yoshii is a ninth degree black belt in the Gaylord branch of Kajukenbo. He was also the KAA president from 1985 to 99. Grandmaster, I was already mentioning a little bit. I love the background. I love the swords, especially in the corner. But I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, well, the background, that's actually my dad's shadow box.
Oh,
So
okay.
he was, I'm Japanese American, so he was part of the famed 442nd combat team. Most of the guys came from Hawaii. He was in the mainland, but they're the most decorated group in World War II history. There's also a congressional gold medal up there that I received for him. Went back to Washington, D.C. So really proud of my father for sure and what they went through in America.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Tell us a bit more about how you got into the martial arts. Where did you start, and what happened there?
sure. I was a young kid. I was in junior high school. My cousin told my mom, "Hey, I think Brian would like this, karate." So actually, I started training in 1971 under Max Palin in Oakland, California. Now, as you probably know, Max is a senior grandmaster. He's one of Gaylord's probably premier fighters. Him and his brothers, Basilio, William, Lupe, they were all very, very good. And I had the honor and privilege of working out with him. So 1971. So I trained with him for about a year. And then I went into high school. I don't know how, but I got recruited to the wrestling team, got on their varsity squad. So I wrestled 4 years varsity at high school in Hayward. So I had to discontinue my Kajukenbo training at that point. The following summer, my brother started training at Gaylord School of Karate in 1973 under Pete Morales. So I went with him so he could give me a ride down there. And I started training at the old barn or the old roller rink at Gaylord School. After that, Sifu Pete took his private students there, opened up Golden Dragon in Newark. And we stayed there. I got my black belt there in 77. I became head instructor. Later, I became chief instructor and co-owner of Golden Dragon. 89, I opened up my own school in Santa Clara. Okay. And I ran that until 2001. And then I closed down, kind of transitioned into corporate security. So I kind of sent you my background there too. So I went into a global security role, demanded a lot of time, places like Apple, Cisco, where I was traveling quite a bit. So I turned the school or my students over to John Bono, who's still actively running and training the school. I still train just a handful of students. And and as you mentioned, I was the KAA president. I also was, we ran a KAA only tournament back in the day, during the 80s, me, Max Palin, Sifu Pete Morales, and it was Kajukenbo only. So that's how guys like Melchor Chavez got introduced to our group, or groups from Southern California. Emperado would come. Our main thing then was to promote Gaylord Kajukenbo, but then also the four other martial artists around the Bay Area. So Elder Coscos, Elder Reyes, Joe Habuna, Tony Ramos, and Charles Gaylord. And they all, the ones that were with us came to those tournaments, and it was fierce. It was a good time. Yeah, a little before your time, but Ron will tell you all about that.
Yeah, I've seen some videos. I wish I was there.
No, I also was honored. I was part of the KAA demo team. So this is Gaylord, Grandmaster Gaylord. We call him Professor Gaylord, Jim Juarez, Jim Williams, and myself. So, and we performed. Later on, I'll tell you, one of my fondest memories, we'll get to that, but it's what was demonstrating with Gaylord, because he was always amazing for sure. Then I was able to train privately under Grandmaster Gaylord for about 20 years. Wow. And that's the story. So in the early 80s, he said, "Hey, Yoshii, I want you to train with me." And, I think I was scared at the time, because this is Grandmaster Gaylord, right? So then he finally came, he said, "Hey, last time you have to train with me, or I'm not going to ask you again." And at the time, I was training with Bill Gifford to learn all my Kajukenbo, Pinyons, punch arts, and grab arts. I was also training with Max Palin to learn the Filipino martial arts. I was even training with Ernie Reyes Sr. at the time to just add his kicking repertoire to what we were doing. And after that first lesson, I don't know what I was afraid of. It was incredible, being able to train privately with Professor Gaylord.
Now, that was the first time that you met him, was when having the lessons?
No, that's 82, 83, right? So 10 years, go back 10 years, 1973 is when I first met him.
What was that like?
At school. It was awesome. I mean, we trained on Friday nights with Pete Morales. It was a private class. And then I also trained in the group classes. So I knew Kelly. She beat up on all of us. She beat up on my brother more than me. But Gaylord, I remember one time they had a big promotion. So he came out and he demonstrated, and he destroyed all the attackers that came at him. Then he got the 2 chairs out, laid down his black belt, put a carrot stick on the throat, got his short samurai sword, razor sharp, sliced it in half on his throat. And that was unbelievable. And that was my first recollection of meeting him, 1973. Yeah, amazing. He's the best. I mean, he's incredible, for sure.
And then you mentioned 10 years later, you had a chance to have private lessons. Tell us more about that. What was that like? How was that different from the regular lessons?
No, private lessons were incredible. Yeah, I mean, he'd come down once a month and teach the whole student class, but private lessons with him, were incredible. I mean, he worked on the accuracy and preciseness and control over the opponents. So I watched some of your videos and how you explained Punch Art 1A. Well, all of his art, he controlled the person from beginning to end. So if he hits somebody, he shows you where exactly to hit. If it's a bottom fist, it's not a bottom fist. He's using the forearm bone to press down, right? I mean, he told you exactly where to hit and how to strike, and he'd show you, right? And so he had a whole mastery of his art. Private lessons also, he taught us how to be quick and fast, right? So later on, I mean, you could read the Tao of Jeet Kune Do and Bruce Lee's story, etc. But he taught, A to B, how to move without, so 1 second timing. I don't know if Ronnie ever showed you that, but if I push down, it's 1 second reaction.
Yes.
Like, when you were sparring with that guy in your video, I mean, you look like a Chinese movie, right? It's because everybody's moving at the same time. But it's that half-second timing, right? Where you could go A to B, no intention, you're relaxed, you explode to your target, right? So he showed me how to do that. I used that, later on, right, in the 90s to fight tournaments, just to fly my colors because I had my school down in Santa Clara. Yeah. But I think because of that, I probably won 8 consecutive first place awards, but I was just using the timing, right? I mean, no matter what it was, I knew A to B, I could always hit the guy, make entry, right? Nice. So no matter what he was doing, so it was good. Could I go a little more?
Yeah, keep going. I'm just checking one over here. Keep going, please.
Okay, great. So along with the fast and quick, what he showed me was a cut punch. So I don't know if you know what that is. Okay, so forward punch, right? Right jab, right cross, right? Reverse punch, right? Yeah. All that has 2 motions, right? Even a reverse punch gets out, makes a hit, comes back. Jab, right? Still goes out and comes back, right? But a cut punch actually goes out, cut your knuckles across, and back in. Okay. Right? So it's a cut punch. So he taught me during private lessons, go home, put newspaper, hang it, poke a hole in it. And I try to poke a hole, but the newspaper would move, right?
Yeah.
Finally, I could tear a hole in it, right? And then, so we used to train outside of his mobile park in San Jose. He had me hold a newspaper at the end of a workout. He said, did the cut punch, 1, tear, 2, tear, 3, floated down, straight across with his punch. So, and it wasn't, so I could cut a piece of paper with my hand. No, but it was to have that speed and quickness when you have to get to your target, that's entry, right? So those two, half-second timing, cut punch, were something real special to me during privates. Other things, I could tell you other things. Maybe we'll do that.
Let's hear some more, man. Yeah, we want to hear exactly more about Grandmaster Gaylord. I've never heard of that cut punch before. I heard of the half-second timing before.
Right.
Ron has talked about that, but I never heard about the cut punch. That's the interesting one.
It's unbelievable, man. Yeah, unbelievable. So then the other thing he wanted to do was to be powerful, right? So you heard of his chi and ki demonstrations, right?
Uh-huh.
He'd have things broke on him where he could really focus, right? So a couple of those, you know, whether group class, private lessons, black belt class,
Mm-hmm.
he'd have us inhale, retain, focus our energy, right? To get that power, that chi, right? Not to be able to do great demonstrations, but to be able to explode on your hit, right? Not punch through it, but explode when you hit.
Yeah.
So what he taught us to do was to just inhale, retain, hold that energy. So you might have saw some of this with Ronnie, I'm not sure, but he had one where we would lay on the ground
Mm-hmm.
on our back, inhale, retain, and push ourselves to the ground through our back, right? Just down, stuck to the ground, right? But this is after meditation, breathing, where I'm stuck to the ground, right? So I'm inhale, retain, and I'm stuck to the ground. Then somebody like Jim Williams or Juarez would come over me to lift me with my belt,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're big guys, right? I'm $1.25 now. I was about a $1.35 then, right? 135, and these guys are like 225, right?
Yeah.
So they'd go to lift me, but because of my focus and my meditation, they could just budge me a little bit, right? But they couldn't get me up.
Mm-hmm.
But as I started to come up, Gaylord would transfer that energy. He just touched my chest, and I'm stuck to the ground, right? So just that development of power, right? I'm going to share with you another thing. So we used to have that same thing, inhale, retain, break the stick, right? So he'd bring a stick, break the stick, right? So we did that actually in a group class. There was a younger girl student, and he said, you know, break the stick. You know, you could break the stick. Oh, you could break the stick. Come on, right? Then, you know, she couldn't break the stick. I couldn't break the stick. Then he said, do you believe that I could break that stick? Yes, professor. Yes, professor, you could break the stick, right? So he said, I'll help you, right? Inhale, retain. He placed his hands on her, stick snapped.
Wow.
So he transferred that power of belief or power of suggestion through her. I mean, it was amazing. He did it one other time. It was a black belt class. So Max Palin was there, Juarez was there, Ronnie might have been there, but he had us, you know, bend his bow staff. Come on. So I mean, I might bend it, you know, an inch, you know, Juarez maybe 2 inches, right? But you can't break it, right? So but he'd go, you know, you have to visualize, right? So, Yosh, did you break it? And I go, yes, you know, you just visualize it, right? End of class, he grabbed the stick, snapped it in half, threw it against the wall, end of class. So for those of you who didn't get that opportunity to feel that chi or to witness it, he had it. And he didn't have it just so he could do these great demonstrations. He had it so when he puts punch art 1A, when he hits, or 3 when he hits down or makes that block or makes that punch, he's blowing the guy up. So he did everything he could to maximize his skill set, right? I mean, if he were alive today, he'd be doing a lot of other stuff, right? Just because we're exposed to so much more. But what he had, he learned from the Kajukenbo and just made it into total effectiveness, total controlling the opponent the whole way, using his body, A to B, side to side, up, down, no wasted motion, no telegraph, right? So he was amazing. I have one more, last one. So what he used to do too is bend railroad spikes by legend, right? I heard of him doing this, right? So he had me at the end of class just get these 4-inch carpenter nails, bare hand, and I'd have to try to break them. You know, I bend them. So, you know, it's hard on your hands. You know, it's how do you do that? I don't know. He'll retain. By the end of the lesson,
Yeah.
I could grab them and close them up. But, and again, it's just so when you make a hit, you're relaxed, but when you hit, you go through with that same power.
Yeah, I think the railroad track or the railroad spike, I've heard those kind of legends, and it is weird because the cutting the newspaper, the bending, what is this? How does this apply to fighting? You know, but the way you're talking about it, the speed, the coming into the punch, you know, coming into the strike, it's an important thing for people to see. And so the railroad spike, no one's talked about that on the show too much yet, so I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, so that's just by legend. I mean, back in Hawaii, whatever he saw another martial art do, he goes, I could do that. I could do that. So probably one of the guys over there were bending something.
Yeah.
So he get the railroad spikes where he'll retain, he could just drive them shut. Yeah. And then other folks like my instructor, Pete Morales, Sifu Pete, he witnessed it before. I didn't witness that, so I can't say. You know, it's just like the carrot stick on the throat of his royal black belt. I just envisioned that. But what he saw was these masters, you know, they'd lay their student down, put the watermelon on the stomach, get the big sword, chop through, right? Which, you know, if it gets halfway, it's going to break. You know what I mean? But they probably, maybe they would hit. I don't know, right? But so that was amazing, right? I mean, when you saw it, it was amazing.
Right.
He said, not good enough, not scary enough, right? I'm going to put a cigarette, or it became a celery stick, or it became a carrot stick on the throat of his royal black belt. Jim Williams, Jim Juarez, Max Palin, right? I think I posted one up there when he did Max Palin in 73 at the expo. Yeah. But yeah, it was, it's incredible, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. You look excited to talk about it too.
Stuff, for sure.
So how, you said a lot of the stories about him. How would you describe him as a person? If you were to describe, who is this guy? What is he like?
Yeah, no, he was great. So, you know, he was caring, thoughtful, personable, happy, energetic, positive, and really upbeat. You know, and he was just he was a happy guy. And he was, the other thing, he was respectful. You know, I mean, it's kind of funny. I'd work out with him, and then there'd come a time, we're done, and he'd go home. And I'd go, wow, go home. You know, like, I don't want to go home. I want to, you know, hang with the man, right? But, you know, go home, see your wife, go see your family. I mean, so he was thoughtful and caring. He was always likable. You know, he was just a really happy person, and he wanted to do for you just as much as you wanted to do for him. You know, should I add? So as a martial artist?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so as a martial artist, you know, he was serious with his training. He was powerful, highly skilled, and he was just always impressive. And he was always open-minded, you know, to learning new concepts. Although he used what he had and made it the best that he could. But if he saw you training something else, he let you do it. Hey, Yoshii, we'll train Taekwondo. It's okay. Hey, but don't forget, you know, what I'm showing you, right? So he loved that. Like when John Bono brought the ground fighting in, or some JKD techniques later, he loved it, you know? Or I had a fighter, Chris Brinkerhoff, Pat and Chris, but Chris got to a world title. So he brought boxing in and kickboxing in. We did all the Strike Force shows. But I mean, he was, hey, that's good. Yo, you know, I like that boxing, you know? So he was all in, you know?
Excellent. I like how also you mentioned that he saw other martial arts do this stuff, and then he wanted to do it too, like the spike and all that stuff. So, and I've seen that in his students as well, especially Sifu Ron. That's what a lot of his students say as well. Go train and bring it back.
Right. Exactly right. I mean, like I said, John Bono did that at our school. Went and trained with brought him into the school, you know, so we were trained with Larry Hartzell, or Dean Goldout, another one of my black belts, trained with hooking.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce his name? So
Well,
the
Hawkeye, yeah.
American Knife Fighter.
Yeah.
That's all being open-minded. But the main thing with me and you and Ronnie and Gaylord and everybody else, Kajukenbo is our base, right? So they're complementing everything. The running, the workout that I did today complements Kajukenbo. Even the wrestling that I had, I mean, it complements Kajukenbo, right? The jiu-jitsu we did with some of the Gracies and the other submission holds we learned from Larry Hartzell, it complements the Kajukenbo, right? That's our ohana, but that's our family, right? And then for us specifically, it's the Gaylord method. And to me, and I think I already stated it, but what he really added was the control of the techniques, right? Of the punch arts, not so much just all the pinions, the grab arts, the punch art, but really the punching attacks. It was just hands-on, right? So we could drop the guy anytime because our secondary hand is controlling the person or we're controlling the fight. It's just not like we're striking and the guy's supposed to fall down now, right? You see that, right?
Right.
Well, whoever other styles, they'll say, hey, you're supposed to fall down now. Yeah, I'm not going to fall down unless you put me down, right? Either knock me down or take me down or else, right? So with Gaylord, I think what he saw was mostly useful. If not, he had to adapt it to make it useful. He did. He wanted it to work. And these guys back in the day, it was the real deal, right? So it could work on the street, so as self-defense, it will really work. It wasn't just for a tournament or even for the MMA ring or for the point fighting ring or whatever, it was all to really defend yourself, right?
Yeah, that's literally why I loved Kaiju when I first found it, man. I mean, I love that that's what came through from teacher to student, and that's what I picked up. Yeah, I love it.
No, I watched some of your videos, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate I'm always surprised when people say I saw your videos. Like, really? You saw it? This is great. I'm so happy.
No, you're doing great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
I see some Ronnie in you for sure. So shout out to Grandmaster Ron Estella for sure.
Definitely. I'm honored to hear that. I hope he is too. Question for you. I know that you're a little bit into music. I saw a picture of you on the drum set, and I know Grandmaster Gaylord was also into singing with Grandmaster Armando Saldana. Did you ever talk with him about music?
I didn't. Unfortunately, we kind of, we hung some together, but we never did the music together. He'd give me a tape now and then.
Oh, really? He did? Okay.
But he never saw like my group playing or anything like that. He would have loved it for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say was the biggest impact Grandmaster Gaylord had as a martial artist? Out of everything we've talked about, what was the biggest?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really just, he's a martial art pioneer, right? He is responsible for bringing the Kajukenbo, bone-breaking realism of Kajukenbo to the Bay Area and beyond, right? And he was a true martial artist, right? So when we walked around, like Ronnie and them, or me, at one time when I was KAA president, people knew who I was, and they go, hey, how's Charlie? How's Professor Gaylord? Because I'm his guy, right? So it made me special. But what he did was he came here and he made an impact on the whole community of martial artists, right? Just not Kajukenbo, but beyond, right? So the main martial artists that were out there at the time, they knew who Gaylord was, right? And we got around him always, to just support that and to promote it, just as we're doing now, just in talking story, so we could let our students know kind of the stories, what Charles Gaylord was like, right? Professor Gaylord, or great Grandmaster Gaylord was like. He's incredible. I mean, unbelievable.
Excellent. All right, so we're almost finished for today. Last thing for today, Grandmaster. If you could pass any message on to great Grandmaster Gaylord now, what would you want to tell him?
Yeah, probably just, thinking of you, Grandmaster, with love and respect always. I greatly appreciate all of the knowledge that you shared with me and my students. your legacy will definitely continue in each and every one of us. Thank you. Mahalo.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for your time, Grandmaster, and thank you those of you at home. Please stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, stay strong. Stay Kajukenbo strong. Mahalo.